All right, good morning. It is November 18th. This is a work session for the planning board. The only item we have on the work session this morning is Hadley's discussion of an accessory structure. So, welcome. We have Steve Hadley, and then please introduce yourself.
My name's Lance Baker.
Lance Baker. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So, I think what we're going to talk about today is this kitchen, this accessory use to the property. We've kind of gone on a real deep dive in terms of the code and how the town view this structure that's here. And essentially what it boils down to is it needs to be permanent. And I think we talked about this last time. So what I'm gonna ask you to kind of follow the path that I got here and then kind of talk about it afterward. So this kitchen is an accessory use to the whiskey bar and the golf simulator and functions that you have in the building. So it's there to support those two, right? Right. So from there it becomes an accessory structure. By definition in our town code is a structure, the use of which is customarily and specifically incidental to that of the principal building or use, which is located on the same lot with the principal building or lot or building or use. So that works. An accessory structure. Structure is anything constructed or erected at a fixed location on the ground or attached to something having a fixed location on the ground. Structures include, but are not limited to buildings, sheds, walls, fences, radio towers, swimming pools, detached signs, billboards, and poster panels. So an accessory structure, this is structure, it is in a fixed location. We've talked about that, it needs to be fixed to that again from there. A building is any structure having a roof supported by columns, walls for the shelter, housing, or enclosure of persons, animals, or chattels, including but not limited to merchandise or commercial equipment, open or enclosed porches, garages, and carports. So what that gets us down to is this is a building. This building needs to be compliant with the building code. A trailer or a food truck does not comply with the building code. A food truck is meant to be temporary in nature. We don't have a way.
That's what our codes person, that's what the codes official is telling us, right? Because he's the one who has to inspect the
Right.
building. So we're talking about not this code, but the building.
Correct.
State of New York.
Correct.
And how it's gonna comply with the building code of the state of New York.
And so we do not have a way to make a temporary food truck permanent in nature because we don't comply. So bottom line is I don't think we're challenging the use. I think the use of an accessory, kitchen to support whiskey bar and the golf simulator, I don't think we have any issue with that use. It's the building itself and how it's being executed that has to comply with the building code. So if you wanted to make it permanent, walls, roof, commercial equipment, what you want to support those functions and comply with the building code, I don't think we have any issue with that. It's this proposal that we can't get behind. It's the nature of the firm.
Is that it? So what are you suggesting? You take wheels off, build a foundation and walls around the pre-engineered self-contained kitchen? I mean, are we at the point where it's discussion? No, honestly.
Yeah. I just wanted to kind of give you our logic and how we looked at it, from the perspective of essentially a food truck where the wheels and the tow tongue comes off and gets bolted to the ground, and our codes officials still couldn't make it work because it doesn't comply with the town code and it doesn't comply with the building because it's temporary in nature.
Okay, so our perspective going into this, doing our research and our homework, I mean, please let it be noted that, again, this went to another 5 months and $50,000, depending on what I can do, compliant on my property. last winter, which was, detrimental to a lot of things, but our perception is probably the same vision you guys have as a town. I'm not a fan of having food trailers all lettered up, sitting in parking lots, being fancy and things of that nature, right? But there is nothing really that says we can't have food. My intention was to, do as, we legally looked at it and had our legal representatives look at it. That we could put a food trailer there and hide it with a fence and not have to come in front of the board. Listen, I think what I'm doing, I hope you guys see my side, I'm not a developer. Cheap ways or quick ways.
No, I don't-
No, but I don't wanna see
any of that.
I, right, like, well, I understand what you guys have to do, you have to worry about the future, who else is gonna come in here and try and do something. So as I drive from my house to Janesville,
Right,
I don't wanna see food trailers and food trucks parking at launch and things like that all lettered up, I'm not a fan of that either. So I like my site, I love to have the board and people who are making these decisions actually come to my site, that was one of the problems I had during the winter was, thankfully I got a line of Eric up there to see exactly what's going on, because a lot of this is looked at from Google satellite, things like that. I'm not trying to hide anything, but in due respect, the way I've always run businesses. Give the product and then you have to come in to find out how good that quality product is. We filter out clients, we filter out, the public, we like to stay in our boxes at a certain volume of business. We necessarily didn't have to come in front of the board. We have to spend
I disagree
$5,000
with that.
to come in front of the board. That's another thing that's. The fees associated with this are another deterrent for someone to do. Try and get food trucks.
that's part of
or
doing
whatever.
business in the town, I mean, you have to,
Well, I mean, it's part of doing business in the town, but again, when you're paying the checks all the time, it burdens some development and a lot of people doing things. I understand the cost of doing business, obviously, but. When my lawyers looked at it, there's transient merchant permits, things like that you gotta go through if you wanna run a food truck or a food trailer in a parking lot for a day or two or a week or an event. We understand all that, but. There's nothing necessarily saying I can't do what I wanna do and put a fence around it. And I don't even know if I had Eric try and look up whether I need to actually get a permit for a fence because it's on the interior of my property. And it's facade basically. So, going to the extent of, the expense of business. And looking at volume of business and looking at our private business. Do I wanna build an auxiliary structure for $200,000? When you talk about money going in and money coming out. We have to stay viable.
Mhm.
So this was a good solution. It's not affecting anybody. It should be allowable. But now I'm being told that I gotta build a whole new building and then the trailer we already purchased upon understanding all this goes where? I mean, are you saying we gotta put a foundation and take the tongue off and the wheels off and plop it on there?
I think that
I mean, how far is
so
building?
I mean, right now, there's findings, like, we're in the code, the town code, right? We talk about structures, buildings, uses, right? So in what Nate explained is that it needs to be a building, so I think that your next thing is to talk to the codes officer about how it becomes a building, so that's not. When he tells us it's a building. Then it's a building, right?
Right, so the question I have is, I'm being pushed into a town code of structure. When I have a pre-engineered, DOT registered. Onondaga County Health Department authorized. Facility. That's mobile. Now, we discussed before we set it in with the town, whether we could. Do some permanent bracking on it, things like that, but it's already a structure, like, we're taking a
right, so.
state approved structure.
County food trucks and Department of Health only look at those in 14-day increments, so that wouldn't be able to be permanent. Any longer than 14 days anyway.
I'm sorry, what was it?
Food Department of Health
Yeah,
has a limit when they look at food trucks and mobile. It's 14 days.
we've already talked to them twice, they've been to our site.
Okay.
They were. Yeah, but when I'm not talking about their authorization, we can get permanent authorization from the county health department. But it's engineered, it's already a structure, it's done. So now we're taking a structure and then making it into another structure. So you're taking me from a lack of code against food trailers and trucks into building structure codes. So there's a leap
Right.
there that I'm questioning what the leap is there for.
Because our
When I
our
could just
town
probably
code
just
doesn't
do it.
allow. Well, it doesn't allow for those transient food trucks.
In what do you mean it doesn't allow, where is that written?
It's more, it's in the definition, again, we're not talking about it doesn't allow mobile food trucks. Forget about that, what we're talking about is, under our code. You have a structure that is a building, and that's what's allowed, we're
Right,
not
but
talking about what's not allowed, right?
There's the leap from it being pre-engineered, certified, authorized to making it a structure. So that gap right there is what I'm questioning. How are we going from a lack of code to forcing me into a building code when it's not?
Well, okay, so let's. Put the pre-engineered, food truck you had, just put that to the side for a second. If you hadn't purchased it, wasn't sitting there, if you came to us and said, I want an outdoor kitchen. To support those two uses, the way that we would go through our code. And help you figure out what's allowed there, is to look at it as like I laid it out, as an accessory structure. And the structure is a building. and a
But
building
no,
needs
I
to be
think
divided.
I did do that.
You did that with the town, somebody at the town, who at the town told you. That food truck was allowed.
You can speak with the people in the town I met with, but we came up with an idea of doing a bracket. So, again, it's the leap. And then if you already have a predetermined plan of what I have to do and making me leap into. The building code structure, what's the code enforcer saying? I mean, you guys obviously are setting these
That's
state
what he's
building
saying.
codes, right, but what's that entitled? Like, how far are we going with this? Like, I'm always willing to flex a little bit to make
Right.
sure that. Things are done proper, I'm not out of line, I'm not pushing boundaries or standards. But there are limitations to me doing a leap into something I don't believe I need to be in. And how far I'm gonna be pushed to do what I'm trying to get.
So Nate showed you the path that he followed that we determined because of the building codes and the town code. Could you tell me the path that you and your lawyer followed that says that it's allowed?
I would have to have him present, I can't speak for
Oh,
them.
okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know who was there with you.
It's John Devendorf, he is not in. This room at this time, I didn't think it was needed.
I think that would be helpful. Because we're telling you our argument and that's the way that we saw it. And I can't see it your way without, additional information and where it says that it's allowed.
Yeah, again,
I mean,
I don't think it's.
Again, I didn't spend $2,500 with my lawyers to do my homework before I made a decision to even come to the town about this. Again, I've been down this path so many times. I understand, you have process. I have an absolute responsibility every day to make sure that my staff, vendors, clients are taken care of. Now we're getting into another gray area where I gotta have my lawyer come in and speak and pay him more, and I don't even know what size codes we're talking about. I mean, why can't Derek be in this meeting? He's in this facility, I saw
I
him walk in.
didn't say that he had to come in. You told me he already did his homework. I thought that you would have
Yeah,
it
well,
documented.
Again, as we understand legal representation, you talk to him on the phone, you're paying, so whether he comes in or.
But you told me you already did it. You told me you already did it.
I did, are you questioning my integrity that I didn't
No,
speak to
you
my
told me you
lawyers?
did it. I asked you to just explain it to me.
I
but
can't
you're-
explain it on a legal platform as well as he could.
Right, so
Okay.
what she's asking is just, if he's already done that research for you and you have some, just share it with us.
Yeah,
That's fine.
my
You don't
layman-
need to do it right this second.
my layman
Her
understands
request
without
is for
trying
you
to-
share it with us.
without trying to pretend like I'm a legal expert in
We're
anything.
not asking you to be. a legal
Right,
expert.
my explanation is, there is a leap from us being able to do what you cannot tell us we can't. To becoming a building code issue. with my understanding of some of this lead is why I came to the town is the same vision going forward, that we don't wanna set some type of platform that anybody can do anything they want with a food trailer and a food truck.
Right.
So the overall vision that everyone in here has for the town. We kind of align with that. You know, and as you can see, as I develop properties, I have a certain way of doing things and. Having commercial properties on a higher standard with less being commercial is my pathway. So
Did your lawyer work based on?
no, but he can, again, I'm more cost to me, but yes, he could.
So everything he did was verbal.
Or he
By
can,
verbal.
or he can call me.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, but
I think.
Again, I tell you, you don't- now, please understand, I'm still scarred from 20 years of this stuff. And I'm recently scarred with still an open wound of paying the money I had to pay to go through the damn town again. With what took place with my property, again, off of complaints. So remember, this is an ongoing process for me, and all I'm trying to do is. Better service one of my companies.
And I
In a
think-
way that I'm allowed to do, which I'm being told I'm not, which then I have to make a jump, and I don't even know where that jump's going to. Can we, if Derek's in the facility, can we get him in here so he can be part of an open discussion, so we can see where I'm being pushed to go?
I think it would be productive for you to meet with him.
But then so again, I don't like interrupting, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. But then again, that's another delay. So again, with the town, you know, an idea can take 6 months. In business, I don't have 6 months, you know, and so every decision I have to make, I have to research, then apply. Research what I can and can't do. But not, the delays are always there, so now it's like, if he's right there, why can't we have him come in while we're all here? So there is no hearsay, and people aren't questioning whether I talked to someone or I had the right thought or wrong thought. It's natural, it's organic, and it's done.
So we don't
I
get.
can tell you what Derek would say. Derek would say that this is a trailer and you can't meet the building code with a trailer. So the question is, can you have a trailer or do you need a building? But you're not gonna be able to turn the trailer into a building.
Well, I don't know that, I mean.
Right,
That's
but-
something for codes to say, there's no way to turn this trailer into a building, because it's the finding of this board that it has to be a building. And then our codes guy says that it has to be building code, so that's a thing
Is
for you as a designer.
would the code enforcer say that the trailer is not allowable? Like you could come up there and cite me and make me take it off?
We're-
No, that's probably no.
No, he would come out and say you didn't get site plan approval.
No,
for it.
that's the gray area that we research.
So I don't think that's.
So I
right at all.
don't believe that, I don't think there's a code. Through our research. With backup research, that the code enforcement come up and tell us that we cannot have a food trailer there.
No, what the code enforcement officer is gonna say is, you put something on the property. That's a use that has not come before this board. Everything that you do on the property has to come to this board, and that was why we did the whole plan, like, this is our baseline. Any change in the use, anything you put on the
There's no
property,
change of use,
it's.
we already serve food.
You're putting something on
It's an
the
accessory.
property.
Right, but no, it's, we're cooking, we're already using, we are already in compliance, we're just cooking more.
Let's say you wanna put outdoor seating, or you wanna put a fire pit, that's all supposed to come to this board. Everything you do on the site has to come to the board. It's a site plan change, you've got a site plan. So if you put it up and he goes out and like, hey, did you get site plan approval for this? And the answer is, well, no, I didn't. Now you come to the board and this would happen backwards.
Well, let's please remember, I've been accused of not getting site plan approval for many years.
Plan.
I don't want a stigma on me that says I do things that are not appropriate or legal or within compliance of town laws and regulations.
Not sure that.
My question is, and I think I just got an answer, if I were to operate my food trailer, there is no code or law against me doing it.
Yes, there
Making the
is.
jump that I have to do a site plan review and make an auxiliary structure, it's not there. That is unfortunately, I don't like the term because it's gray area and it looks like I'm taking advantage of it, but I'm not. I don't believe the code enforcement can come up and say you have to go get a site plan approval. Again, I remind you that I came to the town because I understand what future things can happen, and I'm trying to collaborate with the town, be on the same page with the town, with the same type of shared vision to improve the quality of living, to improve the standards. Again, as I drive through the hamlet, the standards are at about 10% level of mine, and they're allowed continually. But now I'm putting a food trailer, not as an auxiliary, as a already double, twice we approved compliance related service on our property, and now I'm being told I have to go in front of the court. And then I have to write a check for 500, and then I have to write a check for 4,000, and then I have to have a 6-month delay. Well,
I hear you say that you don't want to talk over Jamie, and I hear you say that you're listening to her, but I don't think that you are. So I would love it if Jamie could tell you what she said.
Well, thank you, Jenny, I think Steve did hear me, but he disagrees with that, and I'm saying that the position of this board is anything you do on the site has to come for site plan. Correct. So if you were to start that use and codes came and found out, then they put a stop to it and say come to the board. And then this would happen. Luckily, you came ahead of time, so you're not doing all the things. We're trying to get you to a spot where you're gonna be compliant with the town code. That's, and I understand, and your question is, can this trailer structure be a building? That is not what I decide. That's something that the codes enforcement officer decides. But from this board, the word is it has to be a building. I think that's the bottom line. And we have, apparently, in this board has no issue with the use.
Right.
Or with there being an accessory structure, which is the building. So that's not the question, right? It's what can make this a building? We're told by codes it's a negative, right? This is not a building. Now you need to find out what is a building. And that is beyond what I do, because I'm not a building codes person. Nor is anyone here.
with all due respect, I did apologize for interrupting. Remember, I could stand up there and be in front of the firing squad. What I just heard from someone from Zoom is an insinuation that I'm over talking people. I've been in front of this board a long time.
Right.
And generally, I'm dealing with a complaint or people telling me I didn't build in compliance, spending a lot of money. So I'm not gonna come in here with open arms every time, not happy to be here because it's a process that's not the way I run things. I understand it takes a lot of people to run a town. I understand it takes a lot of people to take a look at things, make sure engineering, architecture, purpose, compliance is all taken care of. But I don't want my personality or my integrity in any way questioned or brought out in public like I'm too assertive or too aggressive. It's a discussion. I listened to everything she said. I do disagree with some of the things that are being said today. I have to do more diligence. Now I have to talk to Derek, which I think is unproductive. I think we should be able to have him here. But I will sideline and talk to Derek. I will then again talk to the people that represent me and my businesses and see that the understanding I have is that gap we're doing is that gap. And I'm willing to work at a certain level with the town to make sure that things don't domino outside of my property where other people don't do it to the same standard.
Hey, Steve.
But if not-
This is
Hello?
This is Kevin. It's funny. I just actually did a Google search on how to convert a food truck to a building, and they're actually AI actually seems to give a reasonable answer. Is they do basically talk about whether or not you remove the structure, keep the internals, how you deal with building codes and so forth. So it actually spit out somewhat of a reasonable answer. Obviously, it's not going to be free, but it did come up with an answer that seemed to make sense going along with what Jamie and others have been suggesting, is that there is a process sort of around this, and you have to talk to all the correct inspectors to see how it's actually going to work properly. So it's like
Well,
it actually gave an answer. It's like it's either it's just smart or it actually exists.
Well, that's a positive input, so there's a step forward. So now we're going down what I said during the Zoom meeting, that it's possible to turn, if you want me to. Make that jump into, it needs to be some type of structure, that there is some type of engineering. That we can do to take the trailer, take the wheels off, tongue off, and make it a structure. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think that's what he's saying. I think he's
Well, I don't know
saying,
what the process is, but there is a process to go through to make sure all the electrical systems and, you know, the food preps, everything is basically up to code, has enough space. So it could be something as simple as you rip out all the equipment and use that and stick that in a structure. You don't have to rebuy all the sort of the kitchen equipment, whatever that's going to meet the codes. But there is sort of a process that's potentially out there that I think, to everybody's point, you would really have to talk to the codes person to figure out, well, how much do you have to do and what is really required to get it from, you know, basically a list of parts, which is what you sort of have now in your truck, right? A whole bunch of equipment from a commercial kitchen perspective, and turn it into a building. But it sounds like you're going to have to, you know, build sides and a roof and so forth. But then the question is, how do you then, you know, can you just build something around it, type of thing? But there is something there. There is a process that I think the downside with is it's going to take some engineering work, right? It's going to take, you know, maybe an architect or, you know, somebody who knows what they're doing to how to make it meet all the required codes, right? And AI definitely doesn't give you that answer, right? But it basically kind of lays out some steps.
So again, we racked our brains here, trying to research, looking at how this proposal might work. The way that we went about it in our conversations was starting with what the use was in the accessory structure and then following that down, and it determines that it needs to be a building. It needs to comply with the building code. It's confirming there that it needs to comply with building code. So again, I know we're kind of butting heads at this quote unquote gray area in here. But the way that the town looks at it, the way that this board looks at it, is that it needs to be a building.
I make a comment,
Sure.
as I'm sitting here listening. Back and forth, back and forth. I'm looking at a gentleman,
Who's talking? I'm sorry. I can't, it's hard to hear you.
Lance Baker, and I'm a resident of Jamesville, have been for 60-some years. And I'm just here with my friend Steve Hadley talking about apparently the trailer that may not be a trailer. In any event, I just want to comment, not about the situation, but just about the people we're talking to. So here's a gentleman I've known 15, 20 years. I've never seen anybody with a mind like that, just the quality of mind for the things that he wants to help the town to do with. So when I'm sitting here thinking about this, we're wasting your time, we're wasting his time. Because he's not the kind of person that's gonna come here and ask for something that he doesn't know can already be done. So we can argue, we can say, we can talk to lawyers, but eventually it's going to be done because he understands how to get it done. Now, if there's a law against the trailer, he's researched it. If there's a law on how to trade, change a trailer, he's researched that. He's talked with people. He's only trying to improve the quality of life in the town of DeWitt. That's his sole goal.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody's challenging any of that.
But what we're challenging is the fact that he knows he can get it done. But putting 3 or 4 more steps in the process, why do you do that?
Thanks, Lance, but that's, I appreciate you saying that, that has no relevance here. So I guess we're at the point where I need to speak with my team, I need to speak with Derek, and then I'm going the same path. And path A and path B, I took path A through the winter, but I'm really getting tired. One of how I'm being represented by some people on the board in the meetings and outside the meetings. No,
I don't think you're being
I'm good.
represented by
Yes,
the
I am.
board.
No, there are some people
My
on the
board is
board
not-
that are great, There's some people on the board that have octopus arms. I've dealt with it, it's documented, I've got it. I just went through a whole bunch, and I'm gonna swear, so someone who's not in this room can take offense to it, but I've been through a lot of shit in the last 12 months again. I will do as you are requesting, I think you're great, you don't come at me with any type of tone or any type of issue, but there is a gray area, I need to research. Again, and then if I have to have representatives that I have to pay for, again, reach out to you, I will. I never wanted to do that. I've been questioned why I don't bring architects, engineers and lawyers and stuff into this, the town meetings. Number one, firms around here love the town of DeWitt because it is per hour billable. So we do all our research, we know what we can do, we come in, I represent the pure product because I'm the one paying for it and I'm the one delivering the standards. So, but unfortunately, I think it's about time after 20 years that I don't come into these meetings. I will have my representatives come in, which then again, you are deterring me from doing anything to better my businesses for the surrounding community. Because the sources of my funds will be pushed into a direction that's not productive. We will get productive results, but the standards will have to be not taken down, I just won't be able to deliver as many, which means I'm getting stifled, I'm getting suppressed, and that's, it's just 20 years, I've had it, so I will go down the path B, but the path with you right now is that I am to speak with Derek, and then I am supposed to speak with my representative again, and my representatives will reach out, which I will fund, and hopefully I will have a good conversation with Derek. The question still stands to me. If I operate that food truck and the town do anything about it, my complete understanding is no. So I'm being pushed to spend more money, to do things that are being suggested of something that's not in a code.
I think.
So a non-code issue is being put into a code. So I'm just, I don't wanna get out of line, I'm just really
I know, and
beaten down and frustrated. And again, things happened not too long ago. My reputation is damaged constantly, my growth capacity is damaged. It's enough. It's just enough. And I can speak very directly and I will table all that. Again, one of the questions was, during the winter, one of the questions was, why don't you, by the town attorney, when I met with the town attorney and my attorney, why don't you just produce all your documents? So that we can just get this taken care of.
right,
And because of my awareness of audits and because of my awareness in this town and dealing with the town board and dealing with the planning board and dealing with some of the other staffing and the supervisor, I said I will keep my burden approved for a time that I may deem necessary, which is about this big. Now, if we go in and see my file, it's about that big. So I'm just tired of this. And now again, I had to go through a complaint issue because somebody spoke up when I wasn't in here on a Zoom meeting 2 weeks ago. And then I'm told that, okay, everything's going down, you're gonna have this coming on you, and then half the people rescinded it. Someone wrote another email, but I can't even see the emails. So it's all kind of like enough, it's enough, it's enough. So I apologize for my demeanor, I always try to be productive and constructive, I try to be
I think it's fine, I
a
think.
little humor with it sometimes, but
My suggestion would be, have that initial conversation with Derek. That way you get his perspective on this, so that when you have your conversation with your attorney. On your side, you have the input from the town. I've given you our, process and how we got to where we are right now. Again, we're not challenging the use on the site, we're not challenging the quality that you do, we're not challenging what you want to do on the site. It is the way that we have to look at the building itself and the use. That's what we're looking at. Again, we have no problem with wanting a kitchen there to support those functions. We have no qualms about the quality work that you do and the property that you have there. I think it's a beautiful piece of property. You do a good job. We have to look at it from a town code perspective that it must comply. That's the only part of the conversation that we really need to focus on right now. And if you have that conversation with Derek, and there is a way to convert a trailer into a building and make it comply to a point that Derek is comfortable with, let's have that conversation. But as it turns out right now, like, we haven't been convinced either by our town code official or by the research that we've done that a trailer can become a building. That's all it is.
So if I do have a quick meeting with Derek and his response is, if I ask him directly. Is there a way, if I run my food trailer, that you can come up and tell me I'm out of compliance? And if he says no,
Well, that's not the question I want you to ask him.
no, but that's the question we researched. That's, so if someone from the town, employed by the town, tells me something. And then I go with it. But then it gets in front of the board, can that be modified? You're telling me you're going off of what they're telling you. But then it comes here and it gets changed up on me. If I go meet with Derek and he says, no, there's nothing in the code that says you can't have a food trailer.
I'm telling you right now that is not going to be the position of this board or anyone, that if you come with the food trailer and it doesn't meet the building code, it'll have a stop work order. Because it's not, you cannot do something on your property like that without coming to the planning board.
But we are not doing something.
I'm telling you that you would be, because your question is, if you start operating, putting up the trailer and operating, is there going to be a stop work order? Is there gonna, stop what you're doing? The answer is yes, because the order will be, come to the planning board to get the permission to do that. Because it's a site plan change.
Right, but if we already know that there's no code that says you can come up, put a stop work order on it.
Well, there is.
Well, the code,
The code is, if you do something on your site that requires site plan approval, you haven't gotten site plan approval, then you have to stop what you're doing.
I did get site plan approval.
For
We're
this.
allowed to make food.
That's,
No, that you're putting something new on the site. And I'm gonna go back to the original thing, you can't do we approved a full new site plan. Anything else that you do, and it says specifically on the site plan approval, there's a whole paragraph. If anything changes on the site, you have to come back to this board.
But, okay, can I have another for instance of what I could change on my site that I have to keep coming in front of the site plan for?
Anything that you change on the site, I mean, give me for example.
I don't, listen, I can't,
Like, what do you
New
want?
fence, a higher fence, another driveway, all of those would have to come in, for instance.
A food, like a fire pit that has seating around it, that all needs to come, etc. And anything that's changing on the site.
and this is
because site plan
a blanket approach to every commercial property in the
100%.
town.
everyone, yep.
So if we were
100%.
to get records, we would see how much,
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, if a site requires site plan approval, you can't change anything on the site without site plan. Or they change your number of parking spots, can't change, like it has to come for site plan. That's the rule we're talking about.
So again. If we find a way to make this compliant. We're all supportive of everything that you're doing on my property and the way that you're operating. But as it stands right now, we can't get to the point that we can do that. Different shape, different construction, whatever it is, it applies to building code. We support you, but can't for this one.
okay, thank you for your time. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We are finished.